Linxin 2 just released some brand new Plants vs. Zombies plushes again, as well just 4 days ago they released their new set and they've already made a second wave. Which is actually really surprising, as well usually Linxin 2 takes a little while, like over a month, to release another wave of plushes, but they've actually released a brand new one only 4 days later. And well, this wave is actually even bigger than the first one, as well the first one had 4 plushes, but this one actually has 5 plushes. So yeah, we're gonna get right into it and start off with the first plush being the Kernel Pole. Now, out of this entire wave, this is probably the least unique one, as well there's tons of other Kernel Pole plushes, but this one actually stands out a bit more, as well, but actually has a pole on it, which no other Linxin or Linxin 2 plush has. And well, just in general, it's one of the only Kernel Pole plushes to actually have a pole on it, so yeah, it definitely makes it really unique. And well, I'm pretty sure that the pole is actually bendable, as well from this image you could kind of tell that it seems to be bent a certain way, meaning that there's probably some sort of metal rod inside of it that's making it to bend. So yeah, that's just one really cool detail that's not on any other Kernel Pole plushes made by Linxin or Linxin 2. And well, the shape of the Kernel Pole is kind of weird, as well it's really skinny and it's supposed to be a bit wider. And while the embroidery on the face looks pretty good, the only thing bad about it is that the eyes are for some reason red. And while this is also a problem with the Sunbeam plush that was within the first wave of plushes, as well for whatever reason they just keep making these plushes eyes red. And I have no idea why they're doing this, as well there's not really any artwork of Kernel Pole having red eyes, so yeah, I have no idea why they did that. But yeah, the eyebrows look pretty good and they seem to be nicely embroidered on, and everything else on the plush looks pretty good. The leaves seem to be glued onto the side of the plush and it looks pretty good. But another strange thing about this plush is that the bottom of it just kind of goes really far out from the leaves. As well, the leaves are supposed to be kind of like the bottom of the plush, but for whatever reason there's just a really big green part at the bottom of it which is not supposed to be there. So yeah, I have no idea why they did that, but it does end up making the plush look pretty strange. But yeah, overall, there's a few things that look kind of strange on this plush, but I am glad that they added the pole as well, but it just makes it look really cool. And well, if you want any single one of these plushes within the entire set, they're all on eBay currently, and they'll most likely show up on AliExpress and other websites over the next coming days. Next up, we have the Puff Shroom. Now, this is the first ever Puff Shroom plush that was released by any company, as well there has been customs in the past, but this one's actually the first one to be released by an actual company. And well, just like the Lava Guava plush in the last wave, this one actually has a costume on it. And well, the costume for this Puff Shroom plush is that it has a purple cowboy hat, but it doesn't look entirely accurate. As well, the sides of the cowboy hats are actually supposed to point up and not point down, so yeah, I think they could have put some sort of material inside of it to make it stand up a bit better. As well, putting something in the cowboy hat like cardboard would make it stand up a bit more, and it would overall make the plush look a lot better. But yeah, the rest of the hat looks pretty good. It has some blue ribbon around it and also has a star which seems to be made out of a felt material, meaning that it could get damaged. For the Puff Shroom's face, it looks pretty good and the eyes seem to be nicely embroidered on, and the shooter part of the plush also seems to be really nicely made. And well, for the purple part of the Puff Shroom plush, we can't really tell if it's accurate or not, as well there is supposed to be purple dots on the top of it, but we can't really tell as well it's being covered by the hat. But I'm guessing it most likely doesn't, as well why would they add extra details when you can't even see them unless if you take off the hat? And well, I definitely wouldn't recommend taking off the hat on this plush, as well, unlike the Lava Guava plush where it'd be pretty easy to take off the bandana, taking the hat off this Puff Shroom plush would most likely damage it as well, but it seems to be really nicely stitched on. So it would actually be pretty hard to take the hat off this plush without damaging it, so I would recommend just keeping it there, and well, it still looks pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely a really cool plush, as well as the first ever Puff Shroom plush to ever be made by a company, so it's definitely a really good one. Moving on to the next plush, we have the Banana Launcher. Now, just like the Puff Shroom, this is the first ever Banana Launcher plush to be made by an actual company. As of once again, there has been a few customs in the past, but this one's actually the first one to be made by a company, and well, they actually did a really good job with it. As well, the face is really nicely embroidered on it, it looks pretty accurate. And while the shape of the banana launcher also looks pretty accurate, the only really downside about this plush is that you can't really stand it up without leaning it on something. But besides that, the rest of the plush looks really good, and the peel on this plush also looks nice, as well they did a really good job making it look like it actually had been peeled, and the inside of the peel is actually a lighter color than the outside, which is just a really nice detail. And while the actual banana part of the plush also looks pretty good, it seems to be pretty nicely shaped and well stuffed. So yeah, overall they did a really good job with the banana launcher plush, but that's not really a surprise as well. It's a pretty simplistic design for a plush, but it still just looks really cool. And it's really nice to finally have an easily accessible banana launcher plush as well. This custom one does look a lot better than the Linxin 2 one, but it's also basically impossible to get. So yeah, it's really nice to finally have a banana launcher plush, which is pretty easy to get. Moving on to the next plush, we have the Heavenly Peach. Now, instead of just copying the original Linxin Heavenly Peach, Linxin 2 actually made their own design, which is something that I'm really glad that they did, as well. It gives the plush a cool, unique design that stands out from the other one. As well, the leaves on this plush are just way smaller, which they are supposed to be just slightly bigger, so I think they should have just kept that detail from the Linxin plush as well. Having these small leaves sort of looks weird. But the actual leaves on this plush do look good as well. They have stitching through the middle of them just to give it a bit more detail, and they seem to be nicely stitched onto the actual Heavenly Peach. And well, for the eyes and mouth on this plush, they look pretty good, and they seem to be nicely embroidered on. For some reason, once again, they changed the eye color to this really light blue, which I have no idea why Linxin 2 keeps doing this, as well. They changed the eye color of the Sunbeam and Kernel Pole plush, and now the Heavenly Peach. I do have to say though, at least they changed it to a cool looking color, as though the red eyes sort of looked weird, but the light blue eyes actually sort of fits the plush. And while the actual shape of the Heavenly Peach looks pretty good, and the most unique part about this plush is that it once again has a costume. Being this hat on top of the Heavenly Peach, and well, it seems to be really nicely made. As well, the actual hat seems to be made out of a felt material, and it goes around the head of the plush. And while the cross on the plush seems to be nicely embroidered on it looks pretty good, and the details on the side of it seem to be printed on. So yeah, this is just a really nice detail that I'm really glad that they added as well. It makes their Heavenly Peach plush just stand out a bit more. And while I actually like that Linxin 2 is going with these new plushes that have costumes as well, it just gives them a bit more of a unique look. And while I'm really glad that they didn't just copy the Linxin design as well, they actually made their own unique design, and it makes the plushes look a lot better than just being a copy. And moving on to the next plush, we have the Fire Gourd. Now the face on this plush looks very similar to the Linxin design, but there are a few changes. First off, the eyes, eyebrows, and mouth are just a lot bigger than the original, as well they just take up way more space on the face. And while they once again seem to be really nicely embroidered on, and they look pretty accurate. And while the cheeks on this plush are actually unique, as well they use the same orange dots, but they also have some pink on them, which wasn't on the original plush, so that also just makes it a bit more unique and just gives it a bit of an extra detail. The stem on this plush is made out of a felt material, so it could get damaged, and the leaf sort of looks like it's made out of a felt material, but I can't really tell as well, it's not really that visible within the image. But yeah, once again, just to make this plush a bit more unique, they actually added a costume to it. And while the entire costume is actually made out of a felt material, meaning that it could get damaged, but it still does look pretty cool. As the leaves actually have a bit of detail on them, made out of an iron-on material, so once again that could get cracked and damaged, but it still does look really nice. And while these leaves most likely go around the entire plush as well, I'm pretty sure that's how the costume is supposed to be, but we don't really get a back image of the plush as well. These plushes just got released, so we don't have many images of them. But yeah, overall, I'm really glad that they just added a few more details as well, but it makes it a lot more unique than just being a copy of the Linxin one. So yeah, that was the entire wave. Once again, it just looks really good. And I really hope Linxin 2 keeps this up and keeps making these unique plushes as well. Hopefully they see that people really like these unique plushes and continue to make more of them. As well, I'm really glad that Linxin 2 is finally coming back to make these brand new and unique plushes, and well, they're some of the best plushes that they've ever made. So yeah, overall, this is just another amazing set, and as I said earlier, you could only find these on eBay at the moment, but in the future, they'll most likely show up on other websites like AliExpress in the next coming days or weeks. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like and subscribe, and comment down below which plush is your favorite, and yeah, have a great day.